T.A.P. is a collaborative studio project crafting instrumental fusion, blending ambient sounds with influences from progressive rock, blues, jazz, psychedelic, and ethnic genres. Originating in 2012 when Michael Jobborn assisted Gayle Ellett of Djam, Karet, T.A.P. evolved through collaborations with Mark Cook and the recruitment of Suzi James after promoting Fearful Symmetry in 2019. Amid the challenges of the COVID years, the project rekindled in 2022, featuring contributions from Gayle Ellett, and drummers Paul Sears and Bill Bachman. The collective name, T.A.P., remains mysterious, inviting individual interpretation, perhaps related to the diverse tapping of drums, keyboards, and stringed instruments. The first album, Paradigms, hints at an exploration beyond traditional musical boundaries.
Hey, Mark.
I'm trying to get my video to work.
That seems to be a problem today.
I'm almost incompetent with these things.
I know. Isn't it quite amazing? I mean, I know so many great musicians who can make their saxophone park their car, but they can't get onto a Zoom call. You know, it baffles me, you know, like they could do anything with MIDI, but they can't turn on a Zoom link. And it's like, you know, wow. Anyway, welcome, guys. I love the album.
That's a good start. That's a good start.
Yeah, great album. And just to get you guys in the loop, I spoke to Gayle this week as well.
Oh, good.
I had an interview with Gayle earlier, actually, I guess it was a couple of days ago. But anyway, so this is a whole new outing. This is your first release together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And great album again. It's is it T.A.P. or is it T.A.P?
T.A.P.
T.A.P. Okay. So who's going to tell me the significance of T.A.P.?
Nobody. I had a conversation with somebody online this afternoon who was desperate to find out what it meant, but you know, we're fine, you know, writing and composing and recording and producing and mixing and mastering, but coming out with a band name is the really hard bit.
Yeah, that is right.
And we all suggested one thing after another until we were almost exhausted, and someone suggested T.A.P. and I think we just, you know, said, yeah, we capitulated and said, yeah, let's go with that. Then we found there were other musical projects with the same initials, so we decided to put, you know, a period in between the T and the A and the A and the P, but not at the end, which kind of asymmetrical, but it looks good on the logo. You just gave it some sort of balance.
In fact, I don't know if you noticed, there was some pain in the neck on Facebook today asking why there's no period after the P. Did you see that remark?
Yeah, I think that was the person I was communicating.
Yeah, that guy's like, he said he was an English tutor or something.
That's right, yes. Yeah.
Hey, fuck him.
Well, I said, what I said is for people who've got to annoy people who've got OCD.
There you go. But like Susie, like you said, but it looks great on the logo. Just the two periods. It's great.
But it's how we work. We throw something into the mix and then we just agree what looks best or sounds best.
So you guys are all over the world. How'd you guys meet? How'd you guys hook up? And
I think that's Mike's bit of the story, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mike, you're killing me when I do this edit, and I'm gonna have to find something to put in instead of this M in my screen.
for 1 second.
Yeah, I keep thinking we should tell everyone that the name is something really lewd.
Yeah.
And just never tell them.
Why?
You know, and then everyone will be like, okay, what does the T stand for?
Right.
Like what body?
Yeah, you guys remember the band 10cc, right?
Yes, I know what that's about.
You know the 10cc story, right?
Yeah.
You know, when what happened was their manager had a dream that he saw 10cc on a billboard, That's where the name came from originally. But when they were asked where the name came from, they used to say, well, 5 cc's is supposedly the amount of semen from an ejaculation, and we're twice as good as that. So that's where they got the. But it actually came from a dream. I spoke to Kevin Godley about that. That's what he said. He said it was all, they just made that one up on the spot. But anyway, so yeah, that works.
We leave people to make up whatever they want. Really.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So Mike, there you go. How'd you guys meet?
I'd say 2013, 2014. I met Gayle on Facebook and offered to help him promote some Djam Karet. And I did that for a bit. And then he asked me to contact Mark to help him promoting his Heard of Instinct music. And then I did that for a while. And then one day I thought, hey, let's ask Mark if he'll do a song with me. And I did. He agreed. And that's the first 4 songs were completed by 2019. And then the 5th song was about to start, or it did start, but then I met Suzi in a game or a music chat room, radio show chat room, and asked her if she needed some help with promoting. I did that, and I asked her if she would like to work on a song from the album, and that was the 5th song. And then she adds a couple things to it in a section of it. Sounded awesome, but then COVID happened, and life got in the way for a few years up until 2022. That's when I contacted Mark and Suzi to finish the album, and Suzi did such a great job on Silence from the Storm that wanted her to play on all the other songs.
Right.
So she was doing that, and then I asked Gayle if he'd be interested in playing on the album, and he said sure. And Paul Sears randomly ran into him in a chat room for a radio station and asked him, and he wanted to hear the song, sent him the song, and he was all for it. So he joined on, and then Mark spoke with his bandmate Bill Bachman, and he was recruited for the Heard of Instinct mix of Silence from the Storms.
Right.
That's where we're at today.
Wow. So you do a lot of you hang out a lot of chat rooms.
Yeah.
Every time I do, I get into trouble. I must be in the wrong chat rooms.
What chat rooms are you?
I've never been in a chat. I've never been in a chat room. I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't know. But what an album it is. And Suzi, that must be tough. I mean, not tough, but it's so unique to be a female prog player. Not too many of you guys.
Well, I started playing guitar, probably a bit late, but in my mid-teens, my parents just out of the blue, bought me an acoustic guitar, and I started going through the Beatles songbook and
sure.
and all those sort of singer-songwriter stuff. But then I sort of came across the music of Jimi Hendrix, and it all went downhill from there. But then I just got really interested in electric guitar, and I got electric guitar and formed a band at school, and did my first concert there.
Wow.
Started work, and somebody was looking for a guitarist for a band, and it was a blues and rhythm and blues stuff, and I just went along for an audition, and they said, yeah, do you want to play? I said, yeah. Well, you'd be surprised the bands I played in a Thin Lizzy tribute band for 6 years.
Wow.
Playing big venues in London. Yeah.
Wow.
We were sort of voted one of the top 20 tribute bands in the UK by Q magazine. I don't know if you've come across them, but we're on their list for a while. But but I've had this background in all different types of music, prog, a little bit of jazz, more into jazz in more recent years. But blues, rock. I've even tried learning bits of classical and so on, but that's the danger is spreading myself too thin. I've also done a bit of session work and pub pub rock bands, that sort of thing. And this is, now I've sort of got
now
free time to explore all these different things.
I spoke to Gayle just about a week ago, whatever it was, and he was telling me that he was doing tribute bands now too. He's in a couple of tribute bands, just here and there. He'll drop in. Do you find tribute bands boring now? Do you find doing that a little boring? He does. That's why I'm asking.
Because I did it for 6 years, and we had 2 or 3 gigs a week, and it was
okay. So anyway, so Mark, what is this? Your 20th band that you're working in this week? You're in 100 bands.
I've got no social life.
Yeah. Me neither, but I don't play guitar. Yeah, but you have a new album coming out every week with somebody. It's incredible.
Not really. I'm no Steven Wilson.
No, well, you're getting there. Steve, what I just hear of Steve Wilson? Oh, the new Jethro Tull album came out a couple of weeks ago. Broadsword, maybe. Yeah.
Did he remix that?
He remixed that too, and he also remixed the Who's album. Who's next?
Well, I'm not sure that guy is human. I think he doesn't sleep. I
don't know. Yeah, Who's Next came out about 2-3 weeks ago. The new Toll came out. He did that. Roxy Music, Kansas, Chicago. He's worked on everything.
Right. I just got some Ultravox that he
Ultravox. Yeah.
Right. And I was like,
yep. The guy's incredible. But that's the same world you guys are living in. That's that whole prog thing. It's a whole different community, and I'm glad to say. I've been involved in music for a long time. The stuff you're doing now in the prog field is so much more interesting than went on 10, 20 years ago. Yes was great, whatever. I know John, I know a lot of the guys in Yes, but I always found them to get a little boring. They tended to get a little tedious. But the stuff that is being played now by bands like T.A.P, like Herds, like, Djam, it's so much more intense. It's so much more, there's so much more to kind of grab from it. And, a lot of credit to you guys. So talk to me about the album. You've done it. You've all worked your own different on your own different continents. And do you find that challenging, or do you find that more suitable to working these days?
I think I think it is the way that music has just evolved. COVID kind of gave it a push in that people were working remotely together, as it were, right. And of course, the software and the technical side of things, it's improved so much, and it's accessible to just about anybody now. People can, if you've got a laptop and a microphone, you've got a band.
But that's good and bad.
Yeah, exactly. It means there's a lot of music. There's something like 80,000 new songs uploaded every day.
Yes.
Trying to compete with that is nigh impossible. But
and there may be 2 worth listening to. Out of that 80,000.
Well, my first real album was Fearful Symmetry, its first album in 2019, and I think it was originally going to be just a one-off, and we had lots of good, quality musician friends, and we'd say, "Would you like to play something on this?" And and they're all over the world, and it was just amazing that we just shared the files via WeTransfer or Dropbox, and they just import it and they add their thing and they come back, and it all just sounded great, and that's just set the trend for everything since. So I played on a band called Checking for Echo on 2 of their albums, and they're not a gigging band, and I've just been asked to add violin to Drifting Sun's next album. So that's the way it's going. There's no cost involved in terms of having to travel somewhere or hiring studio.
Incredible, right?
It's just changed the whole world. Yeah.
But then, like, I spoke to Gayle the other day, and Mark, you and the drummer in the Electromags have never been in the same room, right?
No.
But yet you have that pocket going. You had a pretty deep groove pocket going. And I think in order to do remote recording, you have to be a better musician.
Yeah, it just it just depends on the music, because I've recorded some stuff that's like completely different than what I normally do for other people.
Right.
But like, Gayle's album could have never happened, 20 years ago. He could,
Right.
I mean, he could not have afforded to pay 20 guitar players and keyboard players to come into a studio and record an album. It would cost, a ton of money.
Sure.
And so, it's pretty impressive that like currently we can do like the Electromags album with 22 guest musicians. That's
yeah,
that could not have been done,
but
20
but
years.
how'd you get that groove going? You that bass drum thing is so important. And
well, I spent like a large part of my life with a drum machine or a click track.
okay.
And I've also played with a lot of different drummers, from basic drummers to like, the first Herd drummer was he came out of Black Sabbath school, that was his, so he had a very distinct style, and then Bill Bachman, he's like, to me, he's like Terry Bozzio or Neil Peart, as far as like his technique is way beyond, and you just learn. And I've gotten into arguments with Bill about, he's very much an academic, because he graduated from Berkeley and North Texas State, and I always, when we record Herd stuff, I immediately notice that all of his drum tracks are slightly ahead of the beat. They're all slightly ahead of the grid. My playing tends to be slightly behind. So we got into a discussion about playing ahead of the beat and behind the beat, because I've had to learn to do that with different drummers. And he goes, that does not exist. And I was like, okay. But in his mind, it's just, it's a very black and white thing. But like with a lot of musicians, it's kind of more, it's based around feel more than thinking. So, and with Electromags, he plays a very consistent way, so it's pretty easy to latch onto him. Okay. Bill, on the other hand, is sometimes I've recorded the whole piece of with a click or with drum parts, and then Bill records his parts, and I literally have to go and re-record my parts sometimes, because Bill's parts are kind of, they're in his head, and so I have to adjust.
Right.
So
you did the fine tuning.
Sometimes yes, or sometimes I'll move Bill like a few milliseconds over.
Okay.
I'll move him back to where the beat really should be.
Okay.
He's ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I guess now with everything digital, it's a little easier to do. That was Charlie Watts' thing. Charlie would play a millisecond ahead of the rest of the band. It was like a fine-tuned thing, just like a millisecond. And
right.
It's like being on a tightrope, though, because if you're off, you're off. You can't. Right. You can't readjust. But that was Charlie's thing. But I guess now it's easier to especially recording. I spoke to somebody yesterday. You're talking about remote and budgets, Suzi. I spoke to a guy who used to be in the drug business, and I'm talking about the legitimate drug business. Usually did something in research. Anyway, he put together a band, and these are the people in his band. You're gonna find this amazing. Greg Bissonette on drums. Jennifer Batten on guitar. You guys know Jennifer, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, from Michael Jackson and whatever, she's been around for years.
She played with Jeff Beck.
Yeah, she played with
Yeah.
Jeff. Billy Sheehan, Andrew Giddings from Jethro Tull's keyboard player, and Joe Denizen from Kansas. And this guy's never made an album before. He's never done anything. He was able to hire these people, and they recorded from wherever the heck they were. But again, Susie, can you imagine getting these guys all in and paying them to become studio musicians?
Right.
You
I
know,
mean, but who wrote the music? Who composed it?
This guy's name is he goes by the name Ray. I think his name was Ray Ray Reuter or something. Never heard of him. I don't know anything about him other than the fact I met him once or twice on Zoom. But he was in the pharmaceutical business, and he used to do some small time promoting in Buffalo, New York. And he just met one guy and another guy and whatever. And when it came time to recording his album, he I guess knew Andrew from from Tull's band, Andrew Giddings, and Andrew said, "I'll be happy to produce it. You need a drummer? I know Greg will do it." And that's how it's all started. And he put together this killer prog band, out of the blue.
Yeah. Well, we're nice and cheap.
Yeah. I know. So I said to him, but then he said to me, we'd like to tour. I said, how are you guys going to tour? How's that even feasible? He said, well, we'd have to play big venues. Nobody knows who this guy is. A guy named Ray. That's all you know. His name is Ray, and he's a band now called Fly to the Sun. And somebody else is coming. Oh, Paul's here.
So what the poster will say is Fly to the Sun featuring Billy Sheehan, Jennifer Benn, Greg
Jennifer
Benn,
and Ray. And Ray.
Right.
So but again, this was all done via via the internet. So
well, a lot of people when I work on stuff, sometimes I think, who would I really love to get to play on this track? And sometimes I'll have like working with Adam Holtzman, I just went out to his website and he literally says, "Hey, you can hire me to play, on your music." And so I contacted him, and he basically said, "If I like what you're doing, I'll record it." And so, and that's almost everyone that I've worked with that are like more well known. They're all that same way. They're like, if I like it, I'm interested, and they're not, a lot of them aren't really doing it for the money per se, but they're doing it for like the quality of the music.
Right.
So if I was doing like country and Western, I don't think Adam Holtzman would be interested at all,
No.
But it's just, I think if you know the people's voices and you're writing to their voice, they can fit in really easily to the music.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
How you doing, folks?
Hey, Paul.
Good.
Nice you to show up. Nice you to, I hope you have a late pass, but okay.
I did. I was having my Jeep very expensively serviced.
Wow.
But it's done. So
okay. So, Paul, where are you located?
I am 60 miles east of Phoenix, Arizona, in a little town called Superior.
Okay.
Where some very strange movies have been made, like with Billy Bob Thornton and Sean Penn and Jennifer Lopez, a movie called U-Turn.
Uh-huh.
The Prophecy with Christopher Walken was done here in the high school about 3 blocks from here. Anyway, but it's the Sonoran Desert. PaulSears.net's my website. There's a lot of info there at PaulSears.net, my website. Yeah.
And now you're a drummer and percussionist.
Yes.
And who else have you worked with? Maybe that's where I know you.
Well, there's a shit ton of that info on my website, but I've worked with Fred Frith, David Allen,
Peter Blagbad, Don Preston, Bunk Gardner.
That's where I know you.
Mike Keneally, lots and lots and lots and lots of people.
Those are my boys. I used to work out of a place called my father's place in New York, so maybe that's where we've run across. Anyway.
I used to hang out at the Ritz, and I spent an awful lot of time at Giorgio Gomelski's house, if you know who he was.
Of course. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he and I go way back to the 70s.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, Giorgio. Giorgio was one of the founding fathers of the whole British thing. Giorgio.
Oh yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, Giorgio had the Rolling Stones for a short time. He had everybody, and the guys that he kept. I spoke to the other day. I spoke to Ed Wynn from the Ozric Tentacles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do you guys know the Tentacles? I know Mark.
I've seen.
Yeah. And he was telling me some interesting stories. His father was a sculptor who did the Beatles' heads. And George Harrison said to Ed when he was 7, learn how to play guitar. I have a feeling you could be a great guitarist. And Jimi Hendrix slept on his couch.
He is a great guitarist.
Brilliant.
I've seen the Ozrics a few times. I worked with him at Nearfest and at Prague Day.
Yeah.
He's a cool dude. I like him.
And I work with Bill Laswell as well. So maybe Fred connection. I played with
Bill. I played with Bill a really long time ago, and I really am sorry to hear what he's going through these days.
Yeah, I spoke to Bill.
He's very ill.
Very ill. I spoke to him a few. He sounds a hell of a lot better now, though. So he may be on the mend. I spoke to Bob Musso the other day and Oz Fritz. So I have my
Oz Fritz. Wow.
Yeah.
I met him a long time ago also, but Laswell I knew. Laswell, I used to hang out with him and jam at Gomelski's house with the predecessor to Material. It was a band called the Zoo Band.
Sure.
And long time ago, late 70s.
Yeah. So Bill's back on the mend, I think. But anyway, Paul, I knew your name. I knew it was. So what are you doing playing with these guys?
Well, you should ask Mike. He's the one that brought me into the fold.
He's slumming.
Wait, don't tell me you met him in a chat room.
No, not really. He liked the work I did on one of Clearlight's albums.
Oh, okay.
I've done work with Cyril Rideau, both live and in the studio.
Okay.
And I did the Impressionist Symphony album with him, where he actually flew to Arizona and conducted me in my studio while I was recording the album. And it was pretty cool having him there because we got that sucker done in a day and a half.
Wow.
a lot of fun.
Wow. So,
but Mike brought me into the fold.
Is Steve Roach in your neighborhood?
Not that I know of.
Okay. No. I know Steve's up there somewhere. So anyway, we're talking about the album, and it's you guys have you put together a great album here. It's crazy. One of my favorite tunes on this album is the last words of Dutch Schultz. Where the heck did that one come from? Who came up with that one? Who's the Dutch Schultz fan?
It was spontaneous.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, the recording was put together in a really kind of there were like Mike kind of created the form, like the basic form, and then which had sometimes it had drums, sometimes it just had textures and moods and chord shit, and then we just built the material up from that. And so I'm trying to the Dutch tune, I think that's the only one where I supplied the song name. And the jazz kind of there's some jazz feel to it.
Yeah, it sounded like
So,
it sounded like a noir movie there for a while.
right. And if you read the Dutch, what's the guy's last name?
Schultz. Yeah, Schultz.
Yeah, that was a real crime figure.
Yes, I'm a crime figure buff. I know all these guys.
And so there's a William Burroughs novel that kind of it's almost written like a screenplay, and so it's I was just thinking parts of that song reminded me of like the William Burroughs novel, and then Orson Welles' Touch of Evil. That just kind of black and white noir kind of vibe.
Yeah, that's the vibe it has, because it sounds more. It sounds like this is the one that came from outer space and landed in the middle of the rest of the album. This one, it's like its own little world, and it's great. I love the piece. Yeah, it's really interesting. So you came up with that title too?
Well, William Burroughs came up with that title, and I stole it.
Yeah. You stole it. Okay.
Steal from the best.
Yeah. He doesn't need it anymore.
I also have to say that I like the entire T.A.P. album. I think is wonderful, but I also have to add that I never heard any of the other tracks that are on it until after I recorded the one I'm on, the long one.
Mm-hmm.
Then they decided, oh, geez, would you like to hear the rest of the record?
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, you're on Silence from the Storm. That's the one you're on.
The long one.
Yeah,
the long one.
Well,
just a break. You're a crime buff? You know who Anne Rule was?
Of course.
She's a family friend. She went to school with both of my parents.
Really?
Yeah, back in the 40s in Eastern Pennsylvania.
Well, if you guys want to have a good time, look up Bugsy Goldstein on the internet. Bugsy Goldstein. That was my grandfather's first cousin, and he was electrocuted at Sing Sing. He was Abe Relis's partner in Murders Incorporated.
Oh my God!
Yeah, check it.
Wow.
My grandfather was a plumber. He wasn't a gangster, but his cousin was. But
that's
out
nuts.
Bugsy Goldstein, and
I'll look at it. In fact, I'll write that down right now.
Yeah,
I'm doing that now.
In fact, Edward G. Robinson supposedly picked up his whole crime persona acting thing from Bugsy. When they asked Bugsy, but right before they pulled the switch, give any last wishes, he said, "Yeah, I wish I was holding Abe Relis's hand right about now." The guy was nuts.
He was, man, that's nuts.
Yeah. So anyway, so guys, thank God for chat rooms. You guys did a great job, putting them together. So Mark, you have so many different not genres, but so many different styles that you're playing in now. Is it tough for you to jump from one to the other?
It's always tough to do anything with music for me. I'm not a natural musician, so it's a lot of work, I guess. One of the biggest challenges was playing with Liquid Sound Company, because the music is really different than what I normally do. So it's I had to learn to like play in basically play around drones. So not a lot of harmonic movement. So but I've done I for a very short time I played with a stoner metal band in Texas called a Stone Machine Electric, and that was probably one of the biggest challenges, because at the time they were playing 12-minute pieces that were all like around 40 BPM, these extremely slow tempos where you hit a note and you count 10 Mississippi before you hit the next note.
Right.
That, believe it or not, playing slow is actually almost harder than playing fast at times. So yeah. So depending on what it is, I've recorded with some like electronic guys. When I work with Nocturne Blue, the guy Dutch Raw, Nocturne Blue is his band, and it's basically him. And he's worked with, he works with Tony Levin and Trey and Marcus and bunches of people, and it's usually vocal based music. So my main goal in working in something like that is to be as minimal as possible, and so give him chunks of sounds and stuff that he can manipulate. But I don't really I usually don't come up with one part for him. I come up with like 4 parts that he can choose what to slice and dice.
Okay.
So you're working with Gayle. It's usually with the electromags. I'm like the bass player, right. And so I usually focus on the drummer and playing, the notes that support Gayle's guitar parts or keyboard parts,
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to be too busy. Gayle doesn't like super, super busy, or he also doesn't like very low dubby bass sounds, which I tend to prefer. So working with the electromags, I literally had to like scoop out all my lows, because he was doing it. He would send me back mixes, and he would scoop out all the lows. And eventually I was like, okay, I know what you're going for. So, it's almost like a Chris Squire kind of, but yeah, every situation's different, it's all a challenge.
Okay. And you're able to work all around that, right? I mean, obviously you do it. So, Suzi.
Yeah.
What are you doing besides this band? What are you working on now?
I'm working on some tracks. The third checking for Echo project. I just sent one off today. Got probably about 4 or 5 more. I think the whole album will be released next year, early next year. As I said, I've just had a request in the last couple of days from Pat Sanders from Drifting Sun to add violin to a track, and he sent me the backing track for that, so I'll have a go. And I've also got preparation for the third Fearful Symmetry album. I've got probably about 17 bits of tracks, some more progressed than others. So yeah, I'm busy, keeping busy. Yeah.
And Mike, you haven't stopped talking the whole day. What are you up to?
Just chilling, enjoying the interview.
Wait, I don't want to interrupt you if you're in a chat room now. Well, the whole bio is nothing about you except chat rooms. So what are you working on?
Promoting this album.
Yeah,
that's my main focus right now. I'm going at it as hard as I can, and eventually I'll get back to doing Head Joint, which is my main band. I'll get back to recording that. It's been a long time since we've done any albums.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody going out on the road? I know Mark does some shows. Mark's out there playing live. Anybody else doing any live work?
I've never done it my whole life, so I'm just a studio guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I've had about 30 years of.
Yeah.
And you, Paul, I'm not planning it at the moment, but people do keep saying, when are you going to go on the road?
Yeah,
again?
when are you going to do it?
Yeah.
I know Mark. I spoke to Gayle. Gayle wants to get you into California to do a trio.
Yeah, we were planning it at one point, and something came up. That would be fun. Gayle actually came out and stayed with he came out to Texas basically and recorded with Herd at one point. So it would be fun to go to California.
Yeah, it would be. And I'd love to see you guys together live. How about you, Paul? What are you working on?
Gosh, I'm working on several projects. I'm working on a nothing live, unfortunately. I would love to be doing shows. I'm a live guy. I toured for decades, but I'm working with Cloud Over Jupiter on a few tracks, and joining me on the drums for one track. Unfortunately, he passed away before it was finished. Was Rick Parnell, the drummer from Spinal Tap and Atomic Rooster. He's a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
I'm doing that. I'm doing an album with Dave Newhouse from the Muffins, and I'm doing an album here with my bass player Steve Mitchell, who's one of the very few local people around here that gets it, that has a clue.
I spoke to Tom Scott a couple of weeks ago from the Muffins.
Oh, no kidding! Oh yeah, my man. Yeah. We've done. Yeah. I'm still in touch with the Muffins. We're still friends, you know.
Yeah. In fact, if you talk to him, don't let on. But I thought it was the other Tom Scott that I was going to be interviewing. The LA
Let me
Express.
tell you a funny story. Well, let me tell you a funny. Downbeat made that mistake with one of our albums. They reviewed one of our albums a long time ago, and they said that they gave us a left-handed compliment. They said, "We've never heard of any of these people that are playing with Tom Scott here, but this is one of the most interesting records I've ever heard with him on it." Yeah. That's hilarious. But that has happened in the past.
Good. I don't feel bad then. But
no.
Yeah,
he probably got a laugh out of it.
I never told him. I never told him. I bluffed my way through the interview.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. Thank God. I had my iPod with me. Tom Scott. Who is this guy?
Did he tell you about the really cool Big Bandy album we made?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great record, and that was the most difficult remote project I ever did. It took me donkey's years to learn all that music. It was very hard to do.
I knew of the Muffins. I knew some Muffin material, but I never made the connection, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, we just had a 13-disc set come out.
Yeah, right. So they're based
in very well.
They're based in Pittsburgh, is that right?
Who?
The Muffins? Some of the Muffins are
we were DC area boys.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we lived just outside Washington, D.C.
Okay. Yeah, it was the funniest thing. I'm talking to. I said, "Nah, this isn't Tom Scott. Something's not working out. Did I send the link? Did I send the link to the wrong person?"
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and then hilarious. Then he said to me, "I'm so glad to know you're a Muffin fan," and it clicked.
Oh, got it. That's hilarious. Yeah.
Anyway, it's a great interview. I'm gonna have it up soon. I bluffed my way through it, though. I'm being honest with you guys. I'll be editing this part out.
Yeah, that's all right. We still talk pretty often. Our bass player Billy Swan is in very poor health at the moment, so we're worried about him right now.
Okay.
And it's I was in the same band with the same four guys for most of 40 years.
Right. You see, I knew your name, and it's all making sense now. Well, so perfect.
That's
so. So, are you guys going to be doing another album? You guys going to be doing something else together?
I think, generally speaking, we've agreed that we will when we've got some of these other projects out of the way. But I'd love to do some more because it was evolving as we were doing it. I felt, and I'd like to see where it goes next.
It definitely evolved. I thought was interesting was when they sent me Silence of the Storm to record. I recorded it, and most of the instruments were on there. And when I got the mix back, it was radically different. Different guitars, different keyboard parts, but it was great. Who
did the mixing? You, Mark?
Yeah. Basically, I guess I'm to blame. I'm to blame.
That's the answer. He did.
Okay.
Yeah, but believe it or not, it's like most of the stuff like that everyone provided, it really didn't all the parts just kind of fit into place usually. So it wasn't. It was mainly balancing because the music was really dense, and I tend to when I mix, I don't mix. I try my best not to mix. How to say it? Like from an egotistic point of view, like from my instrument and stuff. So I tried to like balance everyone's parts as best as possible.
Okay.
And with and one of the challenges is we had started the project so early that initially I was given stems from Michael that had keyboards and drums as stereo tracks, and I think initially the idea was to go back and have those separated, but some of the pieces, there's sections where the keyboards and the drums are a stereo track. So I balancing, I didn't have the option to tweak with it very much.
Okay.
And so that was really the biggest challenge, is to making sure to be able to hear like the keyboards and the drums, what Michael provided, be able to hear that, after Suzi and I piled on a ton of guitars and bass,
Okay.
so it's
So
yeah, I think the next album we'll probably plan it a little different,
right,
just to,
right.
uh,
make it okay. So you there's definitely no ego on your part. So the rumors I heard that it was supposed to be called Mark Cook's Tap is wrong,
No.
right?
No.
That's just a rumor. Okay.
Yeah.
The Mark Cook extravaganza.
Yeah.
No, I hate man.
Tapping with Mark.
No. For
So
the longest time, like most everything I've ever released has been under project names.
right.
And my friend Stephen Leak, who lives in Canada, he's a very unbelievable visual artist, and he's also a musician. And when we first hooked up, he sent me message after message that, you need to do a solo project. And so what happened was my solo project turned it into a duo with him. And I made sure that my name is not like, it wasn't a Mark Cook release. It was a project name. So I'm not
Okay.
really, I'm not really interested in promoting myself.
Now, what kind of software are you using? Using Pro Tools? What do you use?
I use Cakewalk, but
Okay.
or Sonar.
They're all the same now, right? They're pretty much all.
Yeah.
And how
I mean,
and how about for your video work? What are you using for that?
I use
You're doing some interesting video work.
I use Adobe Premiere.
Okay.
I don't like it, but I use it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because some of this, you're putting out some incredible stuff. Any videos for this band yet?
Yeah, we've done. There's a few, and then Mike did one too, actually, just recently. So
yeah,
they're out there on the. I think I posted them on the YouTube, the Herd of Instinct YouTube, but they're also on the record label's website.
Okay. Cool.
And I think and we have a website too.
Yeah, they're on the website. Yeah, I need to add Mike's latest one. But yeah, there are two on the website. So that's taprop.com.
Yeah, and so where do we find your music now? I know you have your website. You're on Bandcamp. Are you're up on Bandcamp already, or are you getting up there?
Yes, it's MRR have created a Bandcamp site for our music.
Okay.
That's where you can see the videos and read the background to the band, and also stream the tracks and buy digital or CD.
Sure. And so the CD is available.
Yeah.
And obviously touring is going to be a nightmare, so we're going to forget about that for a while, right?
Poor Paul.
Paul.
He wants to play live.
I know.
Yeah, I'm always up for a gig.
Uh-huh.
And I'm always up for recording projects too. I get, people track me down and send me stuff, and pretty much I don't have any boundaries. I have a pretty wide compass of music I listen to, and
Right.
if I like a project, I'll do it.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have to be a prog or a metal or a jazz or something like this. If you look at my discography and my output, it's all over the map.
Okay. Yeah, Suzi's missing. Suzi
She's in
dropped
England.
out. Yeah, I know, we lost her. So I have everybody's info here. I'll make sure everything gets posted. What else do you want everybody to know before I let you guys go?
We're really great.
I know that.
No, I think I'm really jazzed that these guys asked me to be on this thing.
Yeah.
It's a great record, and I'm definitely open to doing whatever else they suggest.
Yeah. Well, you're the you're the veteran out there, huh?
I guess you could say that. I've been making records since 1972.
Right. Well, it's probably
a lot of them.
Yeah.
So Paul, I had a question. Like, how long did you work with Fred?
Oh gosh. Well, the Muffins had a relationship with Fred Frith and Chris Cutler when I met them back in 1976.
Wow.
Fred Frith and Lowell Coxill donated music to our own record label. We had our own label back in the 70s called Random Radar, and they both donated music to our Random Radar sampler, which has never been re-released. It's a vinyl only. And Fred, we spent a lot of time with Fred Frith. We did several shows with him, and he produced and played on our third album, which is, I think, our best record ever. It's called 185. That's the one that we made right after a tour. So we were running on 16 cylinders at that time. It was a perfect storm, really nice big tape studio. Fred Frith is producer. We knew all the music when we walked in the door. It was just, we knocked that sucker out in 2 days.
Really?